2 Kings chapter 6 verse 1, it says, "And the sons of the prophets said unto Elisha," okay, y'all may stand in honor of the reading word. I apologize. It says, "And the sons of the prophets said unto Elisha, Behold now, the place where we dwell with thee is too strait for us. Let us go, we pray thee, unto Jordan, and take thence every man a beam, and let us make us a place there where we may dwell. And he answered, Go ye. And one said, Be content, I pray thee, and go with thy servants. And he answered, I will go. So he went with them, and when they came to Jordan, they cut down wood. But as one was felling a beam, the axe head fell into the water, and he cried and said, Alas, master, for it was borrowed. And the man of God said, Where fell it? And he showed him the place, and he cut down a stick, and he cast it in thither, and the iron did swim." Today I want to preach to you on this thought. Don't lose your head.
Amen.
Don't lose your head. Let us pray. In the name of Jesus, Lord, we are so thankful, Lord, for the opportunity to come into your house. Lord, I just pray right now that you would lead us and guide us through your word today, Lord. Plant it into our hearts that it may grow there, Lord Jesus. Give us the anointing that we need, Lord, to reach the souls that are around us. And Lord, once again, we give you the glory and the praise here today that you so deserve. In Jesus' precious name we pray. And everybody say amen.
Amen.
Well, bless you. You may be seated. Don't lose your head. I've heard this message preached a few times, or from this passage of Scripture, not this message. But,
Cheater.
yeah, cheater, I borrowed this from, no, I didn't borrow it from nobody. This is something the Lord gave me, but that don't mean somebody else hadn't preached it, but I didn't hear it. But usually I hear people preach on the fact of the miracle of the axe head swimming back to the shore. But today I want to focus on a little different aspect of this. But you know, there are some things here that I wanted to, as I look into this thing. First of all, it said this place is too straight for us. They wanted to change. They wanted to get something different. They wanted to build something. And so, you know, the man of God said, okay, let's go. Let's go over here and let's do this, but we got to cut the wood. And so they began to cut down the wood. But as one was felling a beam, the axe head fell into the water, and he cried out, Master, I need that head back, that axe head. First of all, it ain't mine. I don't think the guy wants a handle back. But you know, when I looked at it, I said, oh my goodness, you know, the axe head fell off. Well, if any of you've ever used, us guys, if you've ever used a hammer or an axe or anything like that, you went to use it, you knew if that axe head was going to fall off at some point unless you broke the handle. But anyway, Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 5, it says, And when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetched a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slipped from the helve, and lighteth upon his neighbor that he died, he shall flee unto one of those cities and live. I read that to explain to you or bring home what I'm wanting to say here today about losing our head. Before something falls off, it becomes loose. Let me say that again. Before anything falls off, it generally becomes loose. I've got a stool in my shop right now working on for Robin. She's got a wheel that won't stay on because it keeps getting loose. And now it's gotten so loose that it has stripped the threads out because it was loose. Threads were meant to be tight. When they're tight, they hold strong. But when they're loose, they worry each other. And the next thing you know, it strips itself out. Well, let's put it like this. And I know one of these words is kind of made up a little bit, but looseness always precedes lostness. Especially when it comes to church. Matter of fact, I used that one scripture one time before, and I used it about basically preaching on gossip. Loose lips sink ships.
Right.
When lips become loose, things become unraveled.
Yes. Right.
Well, we as a church, that's so important for us as a church to continue to grow and to continue to read and to continue to study, continue to listen to the preaching on the internet or whatever. These are great tools. These are tools that God has given us to hear the Word of God. I don't care how you get it, whether you read it, hear it, see it, whatever, I don't care. As long as it's getting in you, you grow from it.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I'm waiting on the day we can switch over to the unlimited ourselves, Sister Angela, where I can watch a little more video and listen to a few more preaching tapes. I enjoy that. It broadens your horizon a little bit. So any way we can get it, it keeps us tight. It keeps us as a tight-knit group. When one individual begins to loosen up a little bit, they become critical of everybody else in the place. I don't care who it is. Right. Generally, it starts with the pastor. They start railing on our leadership, or Sunday school teacher ain't doing this, or whatever, or the housekeeping department ain't cleaning like they should. The list goes on and on and on. At some point, every member in the church has been ridiculed, and when I say church, not this church, I'm talking about church in general. But every person, every position in a church has been ridiculed at some point by a loose saint. One that has veered off track just a little bit. One that has that's not stable anymore. It's kind of like we were talking yesterday a little bit. We were after we got through with that long paddle. Some of us, we had to go back to get our vehicles to come back and pick up the boats. One particular lady was saying that she wanted to put certain padding and stuff like that to try to make it a little more comfortable. Because after a few hours in a boat, sitting there, your back gets tired and your legs get tired. And another person spoke up and said, be careful, don't make the seat too high. It'll make your paddle even harder. Your rear end might feel better, but your arms and your body won't, the rest of your body won't. And not only that, but it changes the center of gravity. So you got to be careful. You want to get in there just right. You want to sit down in there just right. And we as in the church, when we come into the church, we don't need to be adding to or taking away too much, because what will happen is you'll get the center of gravity off.
Right.
And the church will begin to overwork itself. And then we'll become weary in well-doing, what the Scripture tells us not to do. Don't be weary in well-doing. Because when you get weary, you can ask my wife yesterday when she was weary of paddling. The grip on the paddle wasn't as strong as it was when we first started. As a matter of fact, I've got a program called Map My Ride where I can tell the distance we're going, how fast we're going. And every mile it would come on there. It was on my chest, and it would say, it was on my phone, but it's hanging around my neck. And it would say, you've reached 1 mile. And you've done it, and this is the split distance, total time, however many minutes. But your split time for this last hour was 15 or 16. When we first started out, of course, now towards the end, we got a good bit of a headwind coming at us. But we're going downstream, so the natural flow of the rivers is floating us anyway. Even if you didn't paddle, you kept moving to a certain degree. But as we kept rocking on, we reached 10 miles, 11 miles, 12 miles. We were averaging 15 to 16 minutes per mile. But them last 5 miles, and that was the joke of the day. I told Chris, the leader of the group, Chris and Jim, I said, whatever you do, don't tell my wife it's 18 miles. Tell her it's 5 miles. She's done 5 miles before. She knows she can do 5 miles. Just tell her we're going to do 5 miles. At a time. So we got about 15 miles, and so we've been 5 miles. But anyway, as we got closer towards the end, the time got longer. And I'm going to be honest with you, the last 2-3 miles, Brother Smithy, I felt like I was paddling harder. I thought, because I'm getting close to the end, I'm wanting to, plus my phone battery's about to die. So I picked up the pace I wanted to make sure I got to the end before my batteries, both my phone and my body, would run out.
Right.
I was good as far as my body. I mean, I was tired and sore, but my batteries on the phone, I got down to about 4% by the time I got to the landing. And I wanted to make sure I measured every inch of the way. I wanted to see what kind of time we did it in. It took us over 5 hours of paddling. Now, it took 6 or 7 hours to do it because we kept stopping. But a little over 5 hours of actual paddle time. But as we got closer to the end, we slowed down because we were tired. There was a headwind blowing our way. And we as a church, there's going to be times when we meet headwinds.
Right.
Even though we're in the current and in the flow of God, there's headwinds, there's architects, there's building inspectors that come our way. And if we're not careful, we'll allow that to tire us.
Right.
And in being tired, we become weary and our grip begins to slip.
All right.
My mind goes to the parable of the lost coin in the house. It's probably one of my favorite parables. I say favorite, it's an eye-opening parable to me. Reason being is a message I heard years ago preached on that thought that blew me away, and I thought so. I don't want to be in the house and yet lost.
Right. Yeah.
This guy was preaching at a youth camp, a youth conference or something somewhere. Remember, it was youth, and he was preaching to the young people. You're in the house, you're sitting on the pew, but yet you're lost as a ball in high weeds if you're not careful. We get to a place where we just get complacent. We get to a place where everything's going good. We don't need to pray like we used to, or we don't need to do that. As the church begins to grow, things get a little easier.
Yes.
I remember when we were in Manning, I remember starting out, matter of fact, we started going there before this stage. The church wasn't even a year old when we started going there, so we knew what it was like for the fivefold ministry to be placed upon all on one person's head in their lap. One day you're a carpenter, the next day you're a Sunday school teacher or youth leader or the maintenance man or the cleanup crew or the groundskeeper, whatever it was, Bible study teacher. You had to do it all.
Right.
And I remember as the church grew, and saints came in that rooted in. And they began to fill these positions. The fivefold ministry began to be a little more diverse. Those positions began to be delegated a little bit. And now the burden is spread a little bit more. And the burden is becoming a lot lighter. Now, the pressures for a pastor is always the same. Well, you got more because you got more people, got more problems, you got more issues to deal with. But at the same time, you have support groups up underneath you to kind of help you, to stabilize you, to keep you from getting too loose.
Right.
But I remember, this message or whatever, this coin that got lost in the house. Have you ever toted around a handful of change? Now, every day at work, we count the money. We count it as it goes in the drawer. We count it when it comes out. So that we balance every day. Well, it never fails, and it does this to me every day. I can take the change and I rake it off into my hand, and I got my hand open like this, and I'm raking it, and I'm raking them into my hand. But because I don't have a grip on them, it never fails, Brother Smithy. I'll drop at least one of them.
Right.
I'll drop that one coin, and I don't know what it is about a count underneath something. It's like there's a magnet under there for everything. I don't care if it's magnetic or not. There's a magnetic that's going to pull it under the counter.
Right.
Now, mind you, the slot that goes under that counter is like this. I mean, it's literally a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch tops. And it never fails. It's either going to drop in the mat, down in the hole, where you got to lift the mat up. It's going to go under, we got a refrigerator under there for our veterinary supplies. It's going to go under the refrigerator, or it's going to bounce into one of the shelves or underneath the shelves under that. And you got to dig a hunt for it. Lord help you if a penny drops, because it's the same color as the floor. And you're going, and us old folks is going, where in the world is it at? I said us. But it's so easy to lose the coin because you don't have a grip on it.
Right.
It became loose in your hand. You don't walk around with coins in your hand like this. You get a grip on them. When you reach down in your pocket to pick some up, you get a grip on them to come up out of there with them. You got a grip. People go in their thing to get a handful of change to give to them, and then they gradually open their hands up. They're scared they're going to drop one. Well, see, that coin that got lost at some point got loose in the hand and fell out. We cannot allow, as we grow, and I know the church is here today. The backbone of the church is here today. We can't allow the saints that come in to become loose. It is our responsibility to help carry them. Yes. They don't know how to carry themselves. They don't know how to pray. They don't know how to go to the altar and repent. They don't know what it's like. They've never heard of the term pray through. Most people don't know what tongues mean. They just know it's some kind of babbling. It's nothing more than a language. They think you're going crazy. And most people's got in their mind a preconceived notion of what this church should be or look like when they come in. So it's up to us to determine that atmosphere. It's up to us to take things into our hands and keep a good grip on it. Now, with that being said, it's new converts that come in. They're kind of like kids. And I had a wise old leader tell me one time, he's no longer with us, but he used the analogy. He said, raising kids or even new converts is like holding a bar of wet soap. He said, you got to hold it. When you're holding a bar of wet soap straight up and down like this, he said, you got to be careful. That grip's got to be just right. He said, if you squeeze it too tight, it'll pop out of the top. He said, but if you hold it too loose, it'll fall out of the bottom. You got to hold it just right so that you don't lose it. We as a church, it is our responsibility to check the pulse of our saints, the converts that are coming, even each other, us as leadership. Just because we're leaders doesn't mean we're exempt from our head getting loose.
Right.
I don't care how old the axe is. I don't care how old the hammer is. At some point, over and over use, it will become loose. And you have to give it an adjustment every so often. 1 Peter 5 and 8 says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. The key word is may. He has to have permission.
Right.
He wants to devour you. But it's going to be either up to God or us to determine whether He is going to. God's not going to let Him devour us. He may let Him attack us like He did Job. But usually it's because He knows you've got your act together. You may not think so. You may not feel like it. But at the time, God knows your end from the beginning. He knows whether you can withstand it or not. Remember, they love to tell you that, especially the religious sect, that God ain't going to put more on you than you can stand. Isn't that what they always say?
Oh, yeah.
That's a little bit out of context, but at the same time, God knows what you can withstand. And sometimes God puts us through these tests and these trials. Sometimes God allows the husband to leave the wife in the last 5 miles of the stretch because He knows she can do it. But as long as he stays close to her, she whined and complained and wanted him to pull her. She said, I forsook her. No, I didn't. Because I'd get a little bit ahead because, we would spread out. Great Petey's a big wide river is, and we would spread out, and she'd get to talking to one of the ladies back there, and they'd fall back or get ahead of me. Everybody was kind of switching positions. But then the last little bit, I'd gotten out ahead. I just kind of got in a zone. I got over there in the shade trees a little bit on the edge, and I was just kind of looking along the edges, looking for artifacts or anything like that, just kind of cruising along. I looked back and I noticed they were way back, so I paused and waited, and she come up all I could hear is, Eddie, you talk me into this again? I'm going to kill you. I'm tired. I can't. I'm like, honey, you can do it. You can do it. So I purposely pulled away from her a little bit because I knew she wasn't. No, I'm serious. I'm being honest. She knows this. Two purposes. One, my battery was dying on the phone. I wanted to finish what I had started, okay, with the clocking it and all, because there was some uncertainty at exact distance. But at the same time, I knew if I'd have stayed back there with her, at some point we'd have had to pull over and I'd had to tie off to her and pull her in, because she'd just give up. Sometimes we as Christians, God has to pull away from us and say, you can do this.
Right. That's right.
You may not want to. You may not think you can, but you can.
That's right.
You got this. Nature within itself is propelling you to the finish line. It may not get you there as fast as you want, but it's getting you there. So we got to be sober. We got to be vigilant. Because the adversary is standing there on your shoulder and he's telling you, you can't make it. You can't do it. Your muscles can't do it. Your mind can't do it. Your heart ain't in it. You can't do it. You just give up.
Right.
If that axe head was to happen to some of our young people today, they would just throw the whole thing in there. Well, I can't cut a tree down there. I ain't got no axe.
That's right.
I've seen some guys break the tools intentionally so they wouldn't have to work. It goes back to, it's just called maintenance. Hello?
Right.
Our cars, we check our oil, we check the water, we check the transmission fluid. We keep those fluids filled and refreshed on a timely manner. Why? Because we want the vehicle to last. We want to be able to. There's nothing worse. There's not a worse feeling than to walk out into your car and go to crank it and it not crank.
Right.
Or you get on just like a couple of weeks ago when I was going to pick Danielle up from Newberry. Our main car was acting up. There was a problem. And I had to drive another one that I was like, man, I just don't want to drive this car that far. And you worry the whole time, will it make it there and back? There's nothing worse, especially on a Sunday night, to be coming back from somewhere at night and your car break down.
Right.
But it goes back to the maintenance. We maintain it. Our axe heads, we got to make sure the wedge is in there, the nail is in there, it's tightened up. That hit. If you ever pick up a hammer and you shake it and you feel a little rattle on it, you better fix it or it's going to come off. You may not be as lucky as that guy that fall into the water and it have a miracle swim back to you. A lot of times when things come off, they come off and hit you. Is when you bring it up and you snatch it like this to go down. Well, it comes off the handle up here.
Right.
And you know what's below up here? Your head. So don't lose your head. It'll hit you in the head.
Right.
And we know Romans where it says to present our bodies a living sacrifice. We can't be transformed, conformed to this world, but we must be transformed by the renewing of our mind. We must continually check and make sure we're secure in the church. That's why it just kind of bums me a little bit when I see someone talk about that you don't have to repent on a daily basis. You better. You better. There is no sure thing in this world other than God is coming back and that He is ruler, supreme of the universe. He is the Almighty. That is what is for sure. If we're not careful, we can slip, we can fall. Every day is a challenge. Every day we are tempted by the lust of our own flesh. You better bring that thing into subjection before you go to bed at night and when you get up in the mornings and throughout today. You better make sure it's right. Why? Because at any given point, if that's the case, Brother Ball, we go out, we tighten up the head on the axe, and we go out and we cut 10 trees down. On that 11th tree, it might come loose because we didn't check it no more the rest of the day. Or better yet, we go on a camping trip. Let's say we go camping. And we got to have firewood it's really cold, we got to have firewood. And we don't check our axe. Well, we checked it before we left, Brother Ball. As a matter of fact, I bought a brand new one, Brother Smithy, before we left to go camping. Not on this camping trip, because I didn't plan on burning no wood. It was too hot. But let's use that example. And you're going to be there all week or several days. Well, it was good when I left. 3 days into it, your head falls off. You got 2 more days to go and you're out of firewood. Now you're going to freeze to death. Exodus 32 and 29, for Moses it said, consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, for even every man upon his son and upon his brother, that he may bestow upon you a blessing this day. I was sitting here thinking this morning, even my wife testified about how, she thought last night with the way she felt that she wasn't going to be able to move today. And she was glad that she was able to lift up her hands and worship the Lord today. I woke up this morning, I'm not going to lie, I felt tired when I woke up. But when I got here, I was in the best mood. I was like, oh man, I'm in the house of the Lord. I'm excited today. I got energy. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Yesterday was a lot of work. We didn't sleep the night before very well because we was in a tent. And she got home, or got to the campsite late Friday night. And she couldn't go to sleep. And we on a queen-size air mattress that we're used to being in a king-size bed, which meant we were a lot closer than we normally sleep. You got to understand, she likes to turn over and hug her pillow and go to bed. And I'm on my side, she's on hers. But we were bunched together, and it was getting cold. And you would think that is the right atmosphere or the right elements there to create a sorry Sunday. But yet I feel good in my soul because we did that, pull ourselves aside and take a rest. We did something for ourselves to rejuvenate ourselves, to recharge our batteries. And now we feel better about ourselves. We feel good that we accomplished something. Well, we as a church, when we accomplish things, when we keep the head tight and we fall under the beam, we take somebody else's addiction and fall it to the ground. When we take somebody else's oppression and depression and we release them from that. Oh, it feels good in the church when people are delivered.
Right.
A few years ago, we were at the place, business there, Gardeners. We were doing some things, trying to get things where it was a little more profitable, where it was trying to turn the ship around, so to say. It wasn't doing the best in the world. And we had another gentleman there that worked there with us. He was great with marketing. He was great with these kind of things. And me and him were sitting down there talking, and he made a suggestion. He said, why don't we do this by this little bit? He said, it's not that big a deal. It's just a little bit. And John finally said, okay, we'll do that. And it worked. Because we did it across the board, not just in one section. I say that to say this. There was a very successful business years ago, and they asked the gentleman, the CEO, how did you do it? He said, we became successful by not changing one thing 1,000%, but by changing 1,000 things 1%.
Right.
It's the little things, Brother Ball.
Right.
He preached last week about the little things, the little spots in our lives that creates the looseness. It creates the problems. It creates the sores. It creates the doctor visits and the things that makes us weary in our well-doing. But it's also the little things, the little adjustments, the little tightening here and little tightening there, the greasing of the wheel here and the changing of the oil there. Those are the little things that we do as a church, to become the church, to be the church, to represent the church. That is the things we must do, we got to do, in order for this to be successful. A wheel that comes off of a car did not come off just because it was tight. It had to become loose before it comes off. We must learn to keep everything tight in our lives. Last scripture, my music keeps going. Galatians chapter 5, verses 1 through 9. He says, stand fast therefore in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Behold, I, Paul, say unto you, that if ye be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. For I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to the whole law. Christ is become of no effect unto you whatsoever, if you are justified by the law, ye are fallen from grace. For we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith. For in Jesus Christ neither circumcision availeth anything nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. Ye did run well. Who did hinder you that ye should not obey the truth? This persuasion cometh not of him that calleth you. But then it says, a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. Just the little things. I don't know about you guys, but I know me. And it was evident yesterday, not only me, but my daughter and my wife. When you're tired and you're weary, you complain. Your attitude goes south. You get a little short-tempered. You can't get along with the person you've been laughing with just previously. Hello? The Bible says we must do all that we can to stand. It says, having done all to stand, we got to stand. Why? Because the fiery darts are not going to stop. They're going to keep coming. Satan's been at this a long time. He's got a well fine-tuned arm. He can throw that thing, and he can hit the sore spots every time. And he's steady throwing those darts. He knows where to throw them too. He knows when the leadership's weak. He knows when the Sunday school teachers are weak. He knows when the maintenance crew's weak. He knows when a new convert's not been praying as he prayed. Brother Smithy said this, he had this day planned out thousands of years ago. And it don't, like Sister Ball said, it's not planned out to the point that it's predestined, But it's predestined because He knows the end from the beginning. He knows if this happens, this is going to happen. If that happens, that's going to happen. Let's put it best like this. Let's put it best like this. You cannot surprise God. He is not surprised by who shows up and who doesn't. The pastor may be. The music department may be. But not God. Why don't we stand to our feet today?